Attention. Due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 98 of the Civil Gore podcast. I am your host, Tim.
And I'm your host, Brian. Tim, 98. We're closing in on episode 100.
That's right. And we have a lot of fun surprises planned for episode 100.
Yeah, we got a lot of good stuff for that. You guys definitely, I assume if you're listening to episode 98, you're with us for the long haul and you'll be there at 100. But if any new listeners out there, definitely hang on because episode 100 will be classic. Because for the really new listeners, you have not heard one of our sketches, which you know we'll have for episode 100.
Yeah, one of our really bad sketches. So
Yes. Bad, and so it's so bad it's good sketch.
That's what we strive for here at the
Yes.
Civil Gore podcast. So bad it's good.
Yes. That's our sub motto that we don't always mention, but it's definitely the truth. So what are you drinking tonight, Tim?
So tonight I'm drinking the French cuisine LaCroix carbonated water. I think it's actually made out in the Midwest somewhere, but it's a this one is the key lime, and I don't know if you've had the key lime, but it is fantastic.
Yeah, I've had a couple of them. We like to we have a soda stream, so we usually are always drinking seltzer. But when we we like kind of alternate. We have Julie really likes bubbly. We try and get that a lot. You know, that's a Target.
Yeah, Bublé.
Even though people say Bublé, yes, or that one. We'll sometimes get Spindrift. Or Hal's. I don't know if you guys get Hal's near you. Hal's is really cool. They have a coffee flavored seltzer, Hal's, which is surprisingly good. Yeah, and it I don't know if it actually has any kind of caffeine in it or it's just a coffee flavored, which I only assume because it's seltzer. But yeah, that's a good one too. So we're always big on seltzer. So I commend you, Tim, on your healthy choice.
Yeah, and I've also got a when I decide to not be healthy tonight, I've got a double IPA waiting in the wings. So
there you go. I am actually drinking one that obviously I could have saved actually for a future movie pairing, but I wanted to try it anyway, and I don't know if it'll still be around by then. Who knows? So it's one of my favorite new breweries actually, Fat Orange Cat. It's so far everything I've had, and I just noticed this is going to be it's a 12% beer project.
Oh, nice.
But it's not 12%. It's only 6%. But yeah, so Fat Orange Cat is really one of my favorite new breweries, and they have one. It's called the Raven. It's a chocolate raspberry porter.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah, these are pretty good. I'll have to next time we maybe when we come down, especially if we drive down for the wedding, I'll make sure I stock up the trunk with some favorites from here for you guys.
Yeah, because we'll do some trading. Because we got tons of stuff down here that you guys are going to want to grab. So
yeah, plus our local place gets all these limited edition 6 points, and I know you and Kev love your 6 points.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's get right into it. We got a good show tonight. Some pretty cool surprises and a very classic movie. We haven't gone back to a classic in a while, so
yeah,
this is
not in a while.
Not a black and white classic anyway.
No, yes, and it's a G-rated classic.
You can bring
our
the kids for this
G-rated movie. Yeah, our second G-rated movie on Civil Gore. Who would have thought that only in 3 years' time we've managed to hit 2 G-rated movies?
Well, we do have some sad news, unfortunately. Not necessarily horror-related, but we got another RIP this week, but we had to mention it as big Star Wars geeks we are. Peter Mayhew, who, of course, played Chewbacca in the Star Wars film, sadly passed away this week.
Yeah, it was especially if you think about that original core cast from A New Hope. I mean, we've only got 3 left, really. I mean, we got, Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and Anthony Daniels out of that core group, and it's kind of like, it's right. Obviously, if we're getting older, they are getting older, but you still never want to hear it. I'm still barely getting over Carrie Fisher, so this one coming, relatively soon, with only a couple of years after, it's tough.
Yeah.
So, but and I had the pleasure of meeting him once. I took a picture with him, my friend Mark and I. So definitely, I got to meet him, which was kind of cool. And it's just, it's and that heartbreaking picture that was going around I saw even David Howard Thornton had it too. That one, did you see that with the classic Kenner figures?
No, I
lined
didn't
up?
see that one.
Oh my God, it was heartbreaking. They showed Princess Leia and R2-D2 standing there with Chewbacca walking over towards them, and Luke's got his arm around Han, and C-3PO standing there. But it's all the classic original Kenner action figures from the 70s.
Man.
So it's like, talk about a punch to the gut. I'm like, oh, this is heartbreaking. and it happened, and it was weird as, it's like they announced it like right before, May the 4th, which of course is Star Wars Day. And so, it's Star Wars Day just kind of lost a little bit of its luster this year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I did celebrate my anniversary on Star Wars Day.
Yes,
so,
well, that was
that brought a little bit.
That was a plus.
Yeah, that was a plus.
So happy anniversary again, Tim and Olivia.
Thank you. And I did make it Star Wars Day on purpose, so I would never forget it. That was entirely intentional, and I did not tell Olivia until several years after our wedding.
Yeah. She's like, wait a minute.
Wait a gosh darn minute.
That's supposed to be the same day.
So, of course, Star Wars Day wasn't that big a thing back when we got married, really.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's only the last, it seems like since social media is when it really picked up.
So I was able to slide it by. Yeah. I don't think I could pull that off these days.
Yeah, that'd be a tough one.
So I guess let's get right into it, Brian. This is our first chop. So my 40 Years of Terror project continues, and this week I decided to go to one that we had talked about a little while ago, Brian. That was The Children from 1980. You
got a good one.
Yeah, this is the one where the kids have the black fingernails that creeped you out.
Yes.
And this one was very entertaining. So a bus full of kids drives through a chemical accident, industrial accident, and the kids turn into these basically melt your face off mutants. And it's a classic killer kids movie. It was very entertaining, and of course it has the great twist ending. Lloyd Kaufman film, actually.
Yeah.
Troma release, so it was pretty cool. It's on it's available on Amazon Prime, so if you guys want to check it out, it's definitely a good time.
Yeah, I want to watch it again. After we talked about it that time, I've been just meaning to look for some time to rewatch it because it's in my queue. Because
I mean, it's still kind of cheesy, of course, being of the year, the low budget, but the the makeup effects was pretty gruesome. the way they like burn, like their faces are all melted. Not the kids. The kids look normal except for the black fingernails, but they're victims after they hug them, mommy, and they give them a big hug, and then you start smoking. That was the one that freaked me out. I guess when he came in the door and she didn't notice or something, because I haven't seen this in a while now, but I kind of remember he coming through the door, the kid, and the mother didn't realize, I guess. Yeah.
That one was the one that. I have to see this now. Now you got me excited to watch it again.
Yeah, it basically just burns their whole face off. It's pretty gruesome, but it's kind of fun. So that was mine for 1980. We're working our way up through those 40 years. We're getting there.
Yeah, you're getting there, Tim.
Getting there.
So my project continued, and I'm glad this was my finale disc for season 2, and I forgot this one was a good one. This is a good collection on this one, and the first one was The Silence, and the topic of that one is: annoyed by a club member's constant chatter, a man bets him he cannot remain silent for a year, living in a glass enclosure in the club basement. Now this one I always loved, but it always kind of freaked me out because I know I have a big mouth and I talk incessantly sometimes, and people probably want me to bet this thing and say, I bet you can't be quiet for a year. I won't go to the lengths that this guy does, but and I don't think I'd make it, in all honesty. I think there'd be too many things I'd want to say. In a year's time, especially now with social media, and you'd want to talk about things, and there's no way I could do it.
Well, the thing with this one, always puzzled me was, forget the silence. He has to live in a glass enclosure in the club basement.
Yeah.
That'd be worse than the silence stuff.
Well, he did get a TV. I saw there was a TV in there, and he I guess he could get whatever he wanted.
Did he have any privacy though?
I think there must have been a bathroom he could go into, because I didn't see a toilet sitting in there, so he probably could go in there. But see, that's what but they had all the microphones set up, because I was like, there's no way to even do that, because I know I just somehow curl in the corner and like start whispering stuff just so I could say things. But obviously with the measures he did, if you have not seen it yet, I won't spoil it, but he takes some measures to make sure he doesn't speak.
Yeah. That's a great episode.
But
yeah.
It's definitely a great one. That's like, to me, that's one of the classic Twilight Zones. I don't know. I've always loved this one. Next one's another one actually that I used to really like too, and that's Shadow Play. And Adam Grant is trapped in a recurring nightmare in which he is sentenced to death by execution. He tries to convince the people around him that they are imaginary and that they will cease to exist if the execution is carried out. And that's a good one because he starts, like, literally the people start doubting themselves and believe that he may be right, which is kind of cool because, you wonder if that's the same thing that literally happens in every dream. they always just suspect just enough but can't do it. So I don't know. But it was kind of funny. I've always liked that one too. The next one, The Mind and the Matter. This is one I've seen, like, I think one other time. Like, I vaguely remember this one. And this one is it's using the power of mind over matter. Archibald Beechcroft remakes the world to his own specification. And it's funny, the thing I remember is at the end when he decides to make the world of just all him, and there's like the woman is yelling at him, but it's his face.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Like, that's the one thing I remember from it. It's funny, but I don't remember the lead up to it, even though I know I've seen it because of that one, the ending and stuff. And here's another just all-time classic and one of my favorites, and you've probably seen a million times like a still from this with the cook behind the counter.
Yeah.
And this one is, Will the Real Martian Please Stand Up? It says, following a frantic phone call about a crashed spaceship, 2 policemen try and determine who among the passengers of a bus at a snowed-in roadside diner is from another world. And this one's just one of those classic Twilight Zones filled with the tension of they're all like, kind of like the monsters are do on Maple Street, where everyone's accusing and no one trusts anybody. Even like husbands don't trust the wives and wives don't trust the husbands because they are sure somebody is the Martian, and you get a nice surprise reveal at the end who it actually is. Really, really good one, though. And then the final one is another all-time classic, strictly because it's the third one with Burgess Meredith in it, and that's The Obsolete Man. And it's in a future totalitarian society, a librarian is declared obsolete and sentenced to death. And I always thought the best part about that is that Burgess Meredith played a librarian.
Yes.
After, of course, his famous one as Henry Bemis, who was a guy that just wanted books and didn't have the time.
You know, when I first saw this
one,
I thought it was like some kind of sequel or something.
Oh, the sequel? That would have been great. But I mean, like, that's like the if you could just meld those two stories together, he'd be the happiest guy in the planet.
I know.
But yeah, so that's another really good one.
That's a great disc.
Meredith.
That was a good one there.
Yeah,
really
what a way
one.
to finish season 2 off. So I'm moving into season 3 this week, so I'm excited for that. I'm actually really looking forward, though, to because I've seen the classic one so many times, but I'm actually excited to get through that one to revisit the 1980s ones, which had some really good ones also. So
yeah. So next up, I did not get a chance to see this one, but Death House is now on Netflix. And somebody was calling this the, what was that movie where all the action stars? The Expendables,
yeah.
Like the Expendables of horror is what this is, because it has so many horror icons in this movie.
Oh my God. And that's one of the funnest parts about this is just looking for them all, like, and spotting them. And of course, some are obvious. Some are in it more than others, like, Dee Wallace, Barbara Crampton has bigger roles. Kane Hodder, of course. Just a lot of, like, it's really fun. It's just it's kind of definitely a weird movie, but it's really cool, and I was really excited to see it. And of course, it has our good buddy Felissa Rose in it.
Nice.
And so it's, and there's you can see Shelley from Friday the 13th Part 3. Larry Zerner's in there. There's a quick scene with Tiffany Shepis is in there. Some other, like, some Scream Queens are scattered amongst there, and just Bill Moseley. I mean, literally, you can go for. I think, like, the only big people it doesn't have in it are probably Doug Bradley, maybe Tobin Bell, and Robert Englund. I mean, and he was attached to it from what I remember originally, but I don't know if he went in that. But yeah, now that it's on, I've been waiting to be able to see this, so now I'm glad I got to see it on Netflix. I think I actually want to watch it again. Just to see if I can spot any more people in there. But yeah, so if you get a chance, definitely watch Death House on Netflix.
Nice. Well, I like to look at the recommendations
Oh God!
that Amazon Prime.
I'm sorry, we're laughing ahead of time
Yeah.
on this one, and
So-
we apologize for letting you know about this.
My Fire Stick knows that I like horror now. So I mean, it knows. So every time it's like Prime recommended movies, and it's all horror stuff. And for some reason, it threw up here the Paul Lynde Halloween special. So I was out of morbid curiosity, I clicked on this thing. And this is a Halloween special from 1976. And you know how they used to do these cheesy Christmas specials or the cheesy whatever specials. And I like those. I really do like those. Genuinely.
Oh yeah, they're fun.
I love Christmas specials. I even watched I watched the one with Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani a year or two ago. I watched this. I don't care. I love them. The cheesier, the better. So this was right up my alley. But I started doing some research on this thing. So this was a 1976 Halloween special. Paul Lynde was known for I think he had done some Christmas specials, before. And this particular special was bootlegged quite a bit because it had Kiss on it. So you had
it was their first television performance.
Right. So this was
Kiss.
This is a very rare Kiss performance. And so this thing was supposedly lost. This episode was lost, except for people that were passing around on bootlegs. It's about the only way you could get it. And
I say I put lost in quotes because I think some people didn't want it to be found.
Yeah.
Find.
Yeah.
Find. I can speak tonight. Didn't want it to be found.
Yeah. But so in 2007, the original footage was found and it was released on DVD. So this is what you're getting. So it's kind of a lost. I hesitate to say gem because it's not. a gem.
Gem might be a loose word. Although, you know what? I'd almost I kind of want them to do it on the last drive-in just to see the reaction.
It's a weird Halloween special because number one, it has very little to do with Halloween other than the fact that it has a couple of witches on there. One of which is the lady that played the actual Wicked Witch of the West,
Margaret Hamilton. Yeah, and Witchy Poo. That was Witchy Poo.
Yeah,
was the other one.
Exactly. So that they have witches. Other than that, it's very loosely. I mean, very loosely Halloween.
Yeah, I mean, there's this. First of all, it starts off with this, because those specials. I don't know if you don't remember them. Those specials were always had some cheesy segments and sketches and
sort of like our show, actually, if you think about it.
Yeah, pretty much. It's probably what drew Tim and I to this thing. But yeah, and it's it starts off with him not remembering what even holiday it is, and he starts singing Christmas carols. And Margaret Hamilton, who for some reason is his maid, I guess, is at first, and she tells him that, no, it's the wrong holiday. So he goes through every holiday but Halloween. And then he starts going into this weird song about kids, how he loves kids around Halloween. But then it turns into the hatred of the kids on Halloween.
And then there's all these weird, there's a truck driver sketch. And then
oh my God, what the heck was that? It took up half the show.
And then there's a desert chic sketch. I mean, none of these have anything to do with Halloween.
And Donnie and Marie are in there, and Florence Henderson has some weird sketch.
They sing. The Kiss part was actually pretty cool, but
the Kiss was great. And then you got Beth. You got a performance of Beth by Peter Criss.
That was really cool. But then you had this weird, extended disco sequence at the end with Florence Henderson singing "Disco Baby."
Oh yeah, and then Paul Lynde going "Disco Baby." Yeah, it was.
And if you guys don't know who Paul Lynde is, he was a regular on Hollywood Squares. That was his,
and he threw a joke in of that too.
Yeah, that was his main thing, and he was a very, let's say, flamboyant personality. So yeah, he was very, very strange.
Yeah, I'm sure if you saw him, and the funniest thing is when he just that trucker sketch. It started with Tim Conway in there, and Roz. Oh my God, I forgot her last name, but she was the one that played Pinky Tuscadero on Happy Days, but she was also in New Year's Evil, which we covered.
Oh, that's right.
So there's a connection.
Oh, there's even a Betty White appearance.
Oh, yeah, Betty White appears. Yeah, who still looks the same, by the way.
Yeah, she's exactly the same.
And Betty White. And somehow, I don't know how he ends up, but Margaret Hamilton ends up taking him to their house. So there's a whole subplot in here, actually. There's a story going on if you care to follow it. But
it's a train wreck that you must see. I think
and there's tons of bad puns in it, which is probably another reason that it sucked Tim and I for the entire.
Yeah, I almost want to watch it again, which is scary. I don't know why.
I know, me too. Is that bad? Is that wrong that I want to actually watch it again?
So check it out on Prime, though.
Maybe we should do a commentary for that, even though we both saw it. But maybe we should do a commentary.
Oh, that would be a
track
fun
for that as a
bonus. Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, that'd be a good for our non-existent Patreon page that we don't have. But we'll just do it for fun, as if it were a Patreon bonus. But there's no Patreon.
That would be cool. Next up, a top 10 horror movie list? No. A top 100 horror movie list? No. Top 500? No. I go big. When I go list, I go big. I found a top 1,000 horror movies list. This was a post on Reddit. This guy compiled this, and it's kind of interesting how he did. He basically combed the internet for all the top horror lists, and he compiled like 40 or 50 of them. And then he did some kind of calculation to like rank all these movies and amalgamate them into this giant 1,000 horror movie list. And then, Brian, I don't think you're familiar with this because we were talking earlier in the show, or earlier before the show, about this website called Letterboxd. And it's
right.
Letter BOXD is the way it's spelled. And I think you can get it on your phone as well. But it's basically kind of a social networking-ish type application, but it's also online, and essentially it just lets you track which movies you've seen and see movie recommendations from other users and make lists and share them with other users, that kind of thing. So this guy took this Reddit list and made a Letterboxd list. So you can actually go on Letterboxd to this list, and we'll put the link in the show notes, and check off all the ones you've seen, which is kind of cool. I had seen over half of them. Of the 1,000.
Oh,
so
wow.
that was pretty cool. I was pretty proud of that. And I'm telling you, with 1,000 movies, you start scraping the bottom of the barrel when you start getting up into the 900s.
Where does the Paul Lynde holiday?
It did not make the cut, unfortunately. But so.
And what kind of list is this?
But it's really fascinating to see, and then it got me hooked on Letterboxd then, because then I started creating an account. And then I started going through not even horror, just other movies I'd seen and clicking those off and seeing, how many freaking movies can I log that I've actually seen? So highly recommend Letterboxd and this top 1,000 horror movies list, which we'll share in the show notes.
Now I gotta have to go look this thing up after.
It's very addictive. You just want to sit there and like, oh yeah, I've seen that. And it's neat because when you click on, you can do it by genre, or you can do it by decade, or you sort of however you want to, but it shows the actual movie poster icons. And if you hover over them, it'll show the name and the year and everything. But you can just click there's a little eye icon you can click to show that you've watched it. And you can just keep generating pages and pages full of movies that you can go through and click off the ones you've seen. And then you can filter out the ones that you, you can filter out ones that you've already marked, that kind of stuff. So it makes it real easy to track all your movies that you've watched. Great for movie lovers.
Nice. I will have to check that out. Okay, so the next one on the list, this is a big one. And actually, this is something that probably was possibly even previewed by our good friend Ghosterdamus. I think, right? I mean, well, maybe, I guess. I don't know if we specified it was an 80s franchise, but I don't know. I mean, this could count. I don't know. But Hellraiser revival is in the works. There's they chose the term revival, which leads me to believe this is not a reboot in any way, but it's continuing the Hellraiser saga that we know, and obviously we know there's some good ones, there's some duds in there. And it's being written by David S. Goyer, who did The Dark Knight. So that should be interesting. I think it's Spyglass Pictures, I think it said, is doing it. It's not Blumhouse, which is a shame because, anything Blumhouse, is going to be good. But so we'll have to keep an eye on this one because obviously, more Pinhead is good.
Yeah, and that's such a rich mythology they have to build off of. Like, I can't believe they haven't really done a really good. I don't understand why so many bad Hellraiser movies even got made. I don't understand it. With the source material so good, I don't know.
I mean, the last one wasn't so bad. The last one was good. I like that one.
I think go in that direction. I think they'll be getting back to where they need to be. So,
right.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Speaking of revivals, we had a bit of a tease from Mr. Bruce Campbell, who posted a picture of himself as Ash with the word September, which led many fans to wildly speculate that he was going to return as Ash, or there was going to be a new Evil Dead movie. I think, and Brian and I both think along the same lines, this is probably a tease for an upcoming Evil Dead game, which he's probably...
I think there's a video game, like some kind of... I don't know if it was for the systems or it was a computer game, but I remember hearing rumors about that already, so... Yeah,
and he's probably providing the voice, because he's still doing voiceover work for different things as Ash, so he hasn't completely retired at the character. So I would be very surprised if he was actually reprising his role as Ash, like in a live action type project. I think this is probably just a game announcement.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, maybe he might maybe he has some like full motion video snippets recorded for it or something.
Who knows?
But I think our motion cap, I don't know.
I don't think our sequel of Army of Darkness is coming anytime soon.
Yeah, I think that one's pretty much out the door.
And our last little bit of revival news, I did finally get around to watching Puppet Master, The Littlest Reich. And I had actually seen this several weeks ago. I keep forgetting to put it on the rundown. And you guys know I'm a big Puppet Master fan, even though I haven't seen all of them. And I have to say I was slightly disappointed in this one. The new look of the puppets I had no problem with. They changed some of the appearances of some of the puppets from away from their classic look, which some fans did not like. I really didn't mind it. I thought they looked kind of cool. And Blade in particular, people were kind of upset at the change in his look, but I thought he actually looked really creepy. I did love the kills in this movie. Like, this is a return to like good old fashioned, like gory, violent Puppet Master, and they're not good. Like, there's later in the series, the puppets turn good and we're only attacking bad people. It got really strange. This is a return to like evil puppets, and the kill scenes are really, really brutal. And if there's any positive I can give this movie, it's the kill scenes are fantastic. But plot wise, it was kind of mediocre to me. So I was really hoping for like some slam bang, awesome, fantastic new entry in the franchise, and I got about half of it, and the half was mainly relegated to the effects and the kills, not the actual plot line. So I give it a tentative watch it if you're bored type thumbs up. Kind of a middle, maybe on the slight side of positive, thumbs neutral. I don't know. It's
like a thumb slanted,
slightly
up or down. We don't know.
Yeah.
One of those, like that true false icon you made when you're back in school. So
it's like if the
teacher couldn't tell.
The dude from Gladiator was about to give the thumbs up, and then he was about to give the thumbs down, and he just kind of hung in the middle there. That's kind of what it is.
I see.
So
we got plans. We came up with a good description of that.
Yeah. All right, so let's get right to our discmemberment.
Wait, no, please, God, no, cut off
All right, these are the Blu-ray releases for May 14th, and you guys know last week was just dead, bare bones. I think we had 2 titles on the dismemberment, so this week is making up for it quite a bit. We had quite a few announcements this week, some actually pretty good ones here. First, we'll go through the reissues. The upcoming Godzilla movie, of course, is coming out. So they had to take advantage of that and re-release some of the Godzilla and King Kong movies. So we're getting a reissue of Godzilla 1998, which is going to be in a 4K version. King Kong 2005 is getting a 4K. Godzilla 2014 is getting a steelbook. And then there's been some re-releases of some older movies. Pitch Black's getting a steelbook. Ghost of Mars, John Carpenter from 2001 is getting a reissue. And Anaconda from 1997 is getting a reissue. So if you're on the look for those that you haven't filled that spot in your collection yet, I really didn't see like any brand new crazy features or anything. I think these are just kind of plain old reissues.
Those steelbooks pretty much are just getting like just like multiplying. It seems like they're just whipping them out every week, just throwing a bunch of new ones out there.
Yep, and I'm not buying them. I'm continuing to not buy them.
No, there's no point of buying a reissue just for the case like that. Just for a steal.
I mean,
look, and you know me, I'm the biggest sucker out there when it comes to new editions of stuff, and I'm not even doing it. If I don't have it, so most of the time, if I have an option and it's the same price, I'll buy the steelbook just because it's just, I don't know, looks a little sleeker on the shelf, but definitely not going to make and break, or definitely not get me to buy the same version again.
No, I mean, I could see if you're like starting your collection, you're building your collection, you want to like collect all steelbooks or whatever, that's fine, that's cool. But then the other thing is there's variation in the steelbook, so you're not even getting like a uniform look across your shelf because unless you get all Best Buy steelbooks, I don't know. I don't get it. Yeah. So first up is Funny Games from 1997. This is getting a Criterion release. This is one of those movies I have not watched. And this is a kind of a classic.
Yeah, me either. Actually, I have not seen.
Of course, because it's getting a Criterion treatment, it's got to be somewhat noteworthy. It's just kind of slipped through my radar. But this one is directed by Michael Haneke.
Yeah,
I don't know. This popular movie, I should know the director, but stars Suzanne Lothar of the Hill People.
That's what I was thinking of.
I'm sorry. Suzanne Lothar. That was a Saturday Night Live reference, by the way.
Yeah.
Phil Hartman used to do Lothar of the Hill People.
Yes.
Ulrich Mui and Arno Frisch. Two violent young men take a mother, father, and son hostage in their vacation cabin and force them to play sadistic games with one another for their own amusement. And this one has a new 2K digital restoration, new interview with film historian, Alexander Horwath, a press conference from the 1997 Cannes Film Festival, an original trailer, and an essay by critic Bilge Abiri. I don't know. Even the critics have
essay.
Even the critics have bad names in this one.
Yeah, that's a weird names.
All right, so let's get to one we can actually pronounce. Let's see.
Yes.
Happy Death Day to You is getting its Blu-ray release this week, 2019. Universal Studios, directed by, of course, Christopher Landon, starring Jessica Roth, Israel Broussard, and Phi Vu.
Yeah, that's the buddy. That's the friend, I believe.
Tree Gelbman discovers that dying over and over was surprisingly easier than the dangers that lie ahead, and I still have not caught this one. I was trying to get it. I was going to watch it this weekend on demand through Vudu, and I just did not get around to it, unfortunately. So I might just grab the Blu-ray when it comes out. Why not?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to get it. I'm so bummed that they said probably they're not going to have the third one now, but...
Yeah, this one's got a few little features. It's got a gag reel, deleted scene, The Never-Ending Birthday, which might be some kind of featurette, Web of Love, Tree's Nightmare featurette, and a Multiverse 101. So not completely bare bones. Got a couple good things in there.
Yeah, well, you know what? It seems like, though, the cast and crew really love making the movies, and they love the movies. So, obviously, even if a big movie, even if Blumhouse doesn't decide to go ahead and give a green light to the third movie, maybe it'll appear on a Netflix or something. They'll get it, or Hulu or something somehow.
Yeah.
Maybe they just, because and they there's a tease at the end of it for the third one, and it's you're like, oh, this is going to be cool, and I just don't know why the second one didn't do as good. It was really good.
Yeah, that is nice, though. Now that we have all these streaming platforms, you can have these second chances for these movies and sequels that may have never otherwise gotten a release. Because they can justify it. They can make enough money off of it. So, yeah, hopefully that happens. Next up is Link from 1986, released by Kino Lorber, directed by Richard Franklin, starring Terrence Stamp, Elizabeth Shue, and Stephen Finch. I used to love Elizabeth Shue. Who didn't love Elizabeth Shue from Karate Kid?
Oh, my God. Yeah.
And Adventures in Babysitting.
Speaking of that, a little off topic, but you said Karate Kid. If you have not seen Cobra Kai Season 2 yet.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's not hard, lady. You got to see it. But I don't know if you saw the news that Season 3 was announced, and the YouTube is no longer charging for their premium programs. You'll have tons of ads during it, but you will not have to pay to see Season 3. And I think Season 2 becomes available for free, I think, September. So if you don't get around to seeing it and it's, over the summer at this point, you might as well just wait it out till September and you'll get it for free.
Yeah.
And you could see seasons 1 and 2 for free and catch up. And season 2 ends up on it just keeps upping its game. And season 2 ended on a really big cliffhanger and a big tease for what could be coming in season 3. And I was like, oh God, if there's no season 3, I'm going to be really upset. But there is. It's been announced, so now it's good. And the producers, they said they have stories through seasons 5 and 6 already, basically. Up through that far ahead, they have ideas for
it's
it.
It's a fantastic
And if you're
show.
a fan of oh my God, if you're a fan of the original movies, there's so much great fan service in here without making it, but they kind of done so it advances the storyline, and it's done so it feels like a great continuation for the movie. So yeah.
So this one's about. I remember the cover for this one. Honestly, when a Jane Chase, these rundowns are just marvels of English grammar. Jane, I'm going to translate the rundown. When Jane Chase, a young zoology student, is invited to assist anthropologist Stephen Phillips with his experiments involving chimpanzees, mysterious events occur that all center around Phillips' super intelligent simian servant Link. And this one has an audio commentary by film historian.
Hey.
Shut up, Siri.
My God, Siri's
taking
like trying to answer.
She's trying
for
to
you.
butt into our podcast.
Yeah, well, to tell Siri we do not have a third co-host at this point.
Oh, she heard super intelligent servant, so she thought I was talking about her.
Yeah.
Audio commentary by film historian Ding Lee Gambin and film critic Jarrett Gahan. I say the ding because I'm too lazy to put it in editing. So, deleted work print scenes in SD. I don't know. Well, why they just say deleted work print scenes? I don't know why they have to detail that it's in lower quality than the rest of the movie.
I know. We're like, you didn't know, you know. Usually work print means that will be less quality.
An audio interview with director Richard Franklin, Jerry Goldsmith demo of the Link theme, French, U.S. theatrical trailers and teasers. So that one might be interesting to check out sometime. I keep thinking of that.
Yeah, no, I remember that. I used to watch that movie a lot when it was on cable back in the day. So
every time I see it, I keep thinking of that Matthew Broderick movie. With
a little different.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
The Devil's Nightmare from 1971. This is Mondo Macabre.
Oh, we haven't had that in a while. But Paul's supposed to be working on a Mondo Macabre sound effect for us. Got to follow up. He's been busy. His film's coming out tomorrow. As this past Tuesday when you hear this, but when we're recording, it's tomorrow. So he's a little busy getting his promos done.
This one's directed by Jean Brisme. Starring Erica Blanc, Jean Servais, Daniel Immelfork.
Stick with LaCroix, Tim. I think
that's the only French I can pronounce.
That's about as French as you can get, yeah.
6 of 7 tourists in an East European castle overnight are victims of a helper of the devil. Is Satan willing to spare their souls?
What is this, like those old Trident commercials? 4 out of 5 dentists agree.
Well, who's the 7th tourist that's not...
I know.
Victim.
Exactly.
He must be the devil.
6 out of 7 tourists agree that you should not go into a creepy castle.
The next one up is The Chosen, a.k.a. Holocaust 2000. From 1977, this is a Shout Factory release directed by Alberto De Martino, starring Kirk Douglas, Simon Ward, and Agostina Belli.
So this is my guess.
This is your
too.
guess, so you have to guess.
Okay.
What is The Chosen, a.k.a. Big hint, Holocaust 2000.
Yeah, so what I'm going as it's the future.
Well, you're going out on a limb here. I see.
But wait, no, it's the future, and there is some kind of governing body that is kind of just like handpicking certain people, and there's a certain group that is just being slaughtered, and they don't want them existing anymore. But one person, which is probably, I assume, Kirk Douglas, rises up as he is the one that can fight back and lead the rebellion against this governing force.
Okay, you're wrong. And you're wrong because you strayed away from the horror.
Oh, that's right. I didn't really I got away from the horror.
You strayed away from the horror. That was your downfall. An executive in charge of a Middle Eastern nuclear plant discovers that his son is the Antichrist and sets out to stop him from using the nuclear power at his fingertips to wipe out mankind. This is basically The Omen with nuclear weapons.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I ended up going way off, though. Although my movie sounds like a good idea, though.
It does sound pretty cool, especially if it stars Kirk Douglas.
Yeah.
Next up is Saint Bernard. And no, this is not a Cujo remake. This was from 2013, released by Severin Films, directed by Gabriel Bartalos, starring Jason Dugray, Katie Sullivan, and Peter Iasello Jr. A classical musical conductor unravels into the abyss of insanity.
Where's St. Bernard come in?
I don't know, but it has a making of featurette, an original trailer, and a limited edition slipcover. Next up is Mortuary from 2005. This is a Tobe Hooper film.
I remember this one, yeah.
Released by...
And look who's in it.
Oh, yeah. Denise Crosby, Stephanie Patton, and Dan Bird. The Birdman. MVD.
We love Denise Crosby.
Yeah. MVD Visual is putting this one out. A family moves to a small town in California where they plan on starting a new life while running a long-abandoned funeral home. The locals fear the place, which is suspected to be on haunted ground. So,
but that funeral home, though, people are dying to get in there. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the job jokes.
I'll see myself out.
Yeah, yeah. How's elevator sales? Oh, it has its ups and downs. Yeah. Yes, Taylor. How's business? Oh, it's so-so. Yeah,
Tim, if you see yourself out after me, then literally no one's here to do the podcast except Siri. So you may want to knock it off with the...
Well, I like how this one lists as a feature, high-definition Blu-ray presentation of the main feature. I would hope so.
I should hope that's the main feature, the main thing you get with this. Wouldn't it be funny if you just got a disc of special features? That's it. They forgot the movie altogether.
It's just a blank disc. Oh, sorry, we didn't list high-definition Blu-ray on the main feature.
Yes.
Audio commentary from Tobe Hooper, which is cool. Inside the Graveyard featurette with director Tobe Hooper and original theatrical trailer. That one might be good for the commentary, though.
Yeah.
And it has Denise Crosby, and she's awesome.
Yep. So there we go. Oh, look what's coming
next.
Look
what's coming next. Cherokee Creek from 2018, released by Scream Team Releasing, directed by Todd Jenkins, starring Billy Blair, Todd Jenkins, and Justin Armstrong. A bachelor party in the woods gets crashed by the ultimate party animal.
Yeah, this was funny. This movie is and it literally gives you exactly what it says it's going to give you, which is what you got to totally respect about it. It does not hide the fact that it's going to throw you literally a bachelor party that gets attacked by Bigfoot. so it's great. So yeah, check this one out. This is good. These guys are cool, actually. I think Bill Jenkins actually because I saw Billy Blair there. Todd Jenkins actually wrote to us about it too. He sent us a screener to watch it. It was really good. So thank you again on that one. So yeah, guys, definitely check this out if you want just some fun, silly, great gore and like just a good old fun horror movie.
All right, so no theatrical releases this week. I think there was something coming out. Godzilla's coming out in another week, I believe. That's going to be the big
31st.
Yeah,
yeah, I can't wait
for
that
one.
Or
week or two, I guess I should say. And there was something else coming out this week. I can't remember. It was non-horror that I was looking forward to. But I know what it was, and it's not. It's definitely non-horror. Detective Pikachu, because my kids really want to see that.
Well, it might be horror for you. I don't know.
But it looks kind of funny because it has Ryan Reynolds does the voice of Pikachu, so that might be actually funny.
That's true.
I don't know.
How do you get that?
It can't be any worse than Ugly Dolls, which we just saw this past weekend, which is, oh my God.
What is that?
Oh, it's bad. It's bad.
I don't even know what that is, though.
It's about these ugly dolls, and they learn that being ugly just means you're unique, and perfection doesn't mean you're the best, and it's got a message, and the characters sing constantly, and they're not good songs, and it's really, really boring and bad. And my kids absolutely loved it, so go see Ugly Dolls if you want a real
after that sparkling review. Yeah,
your kids will love it though. Your kids will enjoy it. So, and that's what we do for our children, right?
But your Tims will not.
No.
Okay, so we had mentioned earlier in the show that we had a surprise coming up, and so here is the surprise. So at the New Jersey HorrorCon, as you know, we met a lot of really cool people, and this was definitely one of our favorite people. We've discussed him before. We like to promo his upcoming appearances, and if you looked on our Instagram, you saw we took a picture in his culinary costume. Basically it's if you haven't figured it out now, it's our good buddy Dave, who you know as Nightmare Worcester, and he is New England's only screen accurate Freddy Krueger cosplayer. So Dave, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to finally talk with you guys here. It's quite the honor.
Oh yeah, no, it's great to have you on. Thanks for coming on. I know it's late, it's the end of a long day, but so we definitely appreciate you accommodating us.
No worries.
So I guess we'll start off with, obviously you're a big fan of horror, or you would not be getting into this kind of cosplay. So, but what got you into horror in the first place?
I've always had a a joy of being scared when I was younger. I don't know why, I don't know of any other child that likes being scared, but from a young age, I think I was probably about 3 or 4 when the My Buddy dolls came out, and my parents thought it would be a good idea to watch Child's Play about 3 weeks before Christmas. And, they ended up buying me a My Buddy doll, and at the time, I opened it up and ran into the other room and wanted nothing to do with it. And long story short, a couple months went by. She put the Hot Wheels tracks, set it up with the doll out at the end, so I'd at least go near it. And then, I kind of warmed up to the whole creepy genre of, just horror in general. And since then, I've always had this weird obsession with, wanting to be scared or wanting to scare people, always pulling pranks on people. And as I got older, I got more into, the gory part of horror, rather than just the jump scare. And it kind of led me into the whole Freddy portion,
What exactly about the Freddy Krueger character appealed to you so much in the Nightmare on Elm Street series?
So as a kid, Freddy scared the hell out of me. I think it was New Nightmare that my parents rented on VHS from Blockbuster, when that was a thing. And I wouldn't fall asleep for about a week and a half after watching that. I wouldn't put my feet towards the end of the bed. And, Freddy, there's something about Freddy, he's like a shapeshifter. He's not just, one of those masked villains that will chase you down the street or, walk and find you somewhere in a house. Like, he will shapeshift. He'll find you wherever. He'll, turns into a TV. He's not your typical villain. So I think the humor part of the entire franchise, the later the movies get, the more funnier they get, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So parts 1 and 2 were pretty dark, and then 3 on up became more humorous, and I've got a really dark sense of humor, so I kind of thought that's, this is great.
Yeah, no, and of course, obviously, Freddy got once he started getting those taglines in there, it kind of appealed to him to a broader audience too. So because he got funny.
Yeah, Freddy got funny. I got this dark sense of humor and love scaring people. People's reactions are just great, and it's not just a simple mask. It's very intricate makeup that I think that's what really appealed to me.
Yeah, so and I have to say, we've said this a ton of times in the show too. I don't know where exactly. You can explain this too, because we kind of want to know what got you into cosplaying as Freddy, and you made it such an important part because you jump right into it, and like Tim and I were blown away how much you look like him. Seriously, from when you were sat there, we said you probably couldn't tell that we weren't with Robert England.
Yeah.
And now we're probably getting you in trouble because now here's stuff to say, well, how good does he look? Wait a minute. But, So what made you want to make cosplaying as Freddy such an important part of your life?
So I don't know if you guys have ever been to Salem, Mass on Halloween, but it's packed full of people with these super elaborate costumes. And from middle school up until like high school, I'd go with a group of friends, and I would see at least 3 or 4 Freddy Kruegers. And, I've always had this passion for Freddy and loved the franchise. And every year I'd go to Salem and I'd see these people dressed up as Freddy, and I'd tell myself, I want to be that person. And, I want to be the person out on the street people are taking photos with. And I basically, I want to have the best Freddy out there. And it kind of went from there. So when I bought the stuff, I just kind of bought it for, just for fun really, and for Halloween. And I never in 1,000 years would, I'd thought that I'd be doing what I'm doing now. So I ended up going on eBay one night and just scrolling for, Freddy Krueger masks, because at the time I had no idea what cosplay was. I thought it was just people in costumes. I didn't know that there was Comic-Con conventions or horror conventions, or, I didn't know that dressing up as these characters was a thing. And so I had no idea what I was looking for. I Googled, Freddy Krueger mask on eBay, and a couple silicone masks popped up, and there was this guy who was selling basically an entire set. He had a mask, the fedora, a sweater made by Dave Miller, who was one of the special effects artists on the series, and the glove, and since then, obviously my pieces have evolved quite a bit, but I bought that, and I went to Salem and I did what I wanted. I told myself I would be doing, 2-3 years prior to that. And I did it, for Halloween purposes, and kind of evolved from there. there was a horror convention or something on Groupon. It was a ScareCon about a year and a half ago, and they said that you can cosplay, and I had no idea what it was, so read the rules and all that, and they said, come dressed in costume, and I said, cool, I'll put this Freddy stuff on and I'll go walk around this convention, and no idea what I was doing. So I thought I looked like this, doofus kind of walking around, because I was the only one in costume. I think I went on a Sunday after a work shift or something. And, Sundays are obviously the slow days for any convention, really. So
right.
I was the only guy walking around, and I felt like, okay, well, now I feel stupid, because people are either looking at me because they like what I have on, or they're looking at me like, what are you doing?
I'm sure it's the first one, because that's what we were blown away when we saw you standing there. We're like, wow, that's amazing, that costume.
Yeah, so what you guys saw in Jersey was actually obviously my newest stuff. And so what I had at that first convention while walking around, the fedora was like 4 sizes too small for my giant head, and the sweater was too short, so I just was like, hey, look at me, I'm Freddy Krueger. And I guess it was passable. And, I had this photographer jump out from behind his table, Dante Luna, he's based out of Boston. And he said, hey, I'm obsessed with Freddy Krueger. You look great. Like, this is my card. Email me. I want you at a convention. There was this like family festival or something at Fenway Park, and I was like, really? You guys, like, are you looking at what I'm wearing? Like, this is great. I want you to email me. I want you there. And I was like, okay. So I emailed him, and basically that was the start of me getting into cosplay, really. And that was he basically introduced me to the whole Comic-Con world and, cosplay. And, from there, I basically took a bunch of photos, posted them online, started Facebook and Instagram pages. And, there was more interest than I thought there would ever be. And, I know there's a lot of Freddy Krueger cosplayers out there, and I'm starting to get familiarized with, a lot of them. And it's kind of gone from there. I emailed a couple conventions, bought vendor tables. You got to pay your way, really, to, get where you want to be.
Yeah.
Well, so, you definitely are on the. You did something right, because we saw all the people going over to you at New Jersey HorrorCon too. That's why we had to go over and get a picture, especially because you don't see that Chef Freddy very often.
Yeah,
at least cool. I haven't seen it.
That was actually the first time that I put that on. So that costume was made for New Jersey. And as soon as I put that on, like, my line was nonstop at the table. I was soaked underneath that costume. And the mask was actually slipping. I couldn't see. There was so much sweat. But I had a line, and it was for the first time that people were actually arguing over who was in queue first to take a picture with me. And I was like, this is absolutely bizarre. Like, I'm a guy in a mask, and these people are fighting in front of my table to, take photos with me. I'm like, this is nuts. It's really surreal. Like, but Chef, he attracted a ton of attention. My aunt in Arizona actually stitched that shirt for me. And you don't see Chef Freddy to that extent at, Comic-Con conventions. I've seen pictures here and there, which kind of gave me the idea to do that. And I just kind of went all out. I made the platter, put the little doll on it, and put the vegetables. And Saturday, I think I did that. It was pretty slow. Friday was pretty busy. Saturday morning was pretty slow. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put a costume change on. And I came out, and it was just go, go, go. And came over, and I was like, holy Jesus.
Yeah, well,
That's awesome.
that's definitely, that's what caught our eye, was that it was a Chef Freddy, because you always see the other Freddys.
Yeah, it wasn't the typical Freddy. I was very unique. Yeah. So, Dave, do you have any good stories from some of these cons that you've been to that are interesting or funny?
I see you guys go to conventions a lot. It's great for people watching. There's a lot of interesting individuals that come up and will talk to you, and there's a good chunk that will talk to me as if I'm the actual character, which it kind of throws me off, because I'm not expecting it half the time, and I just I forget that they can see my expression, at least my eyes through the mask. And sometimes, like, I will roll my eyes while looking at them, and, I don't know what to say to them. And, it catches me off guard, but I love seeing people's reactions, because Robert doesn't do the makeup anymore. And he'll go to conventions. You can take pictures with him as Robert, but, these people's reactions, I'll have people come up to me and, hug me like I'm Mickey Mouse. They're like, "Oh my God, I love you," and I'm like, "This is weird." It's really surreal. Like it's we'll probably get into it later on, but working with Mark Patton is added to that whole surrealness, and that brings in a lot of that's probably the most memorable portion of this whole Freddie ordeal, getting to work with him, which is like, and never in 1,000 years, I think Mark reached out to me on Facebook and said, "Hey, let's collaborate at ScareCon," which was only my second convention that I've ever done. And from there on out, this is what we're doing.
Wow, so he reached out to you after seeing your page on Facebook. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. Because I was gonna ask, like, how did you get like linked up with him? Because that's pretty cool to get. You're like, you're just a guy that's like started as a cosplayer, and now you're literally like appearing with an actor from the series. That's really cool.
Yeah. So I was actually going down to Florida with my mother and my brother. We were going down on a family vacation because she hadn't been down in like 20 years since we were like 10 years old. And so I'm sitting in the Worcester airport, and there's a spot in the airport where we're waiting that had no reception at all. And it was about a month or so before ScareCon, and I had bought a vendor table because I was just going to go stand there basically with my backdrop and take photos. And Mark Patton was one of the guests that was going to be there, along with Ricky Dean Logan. And so I'm sitting there with my mother, we're just chatting, and then I get this Facebook notification, and it's Mark Patton, and he goes, "Hey, it's Mark Patton from Nightmare on Elm Street 2. We should collaborate at ScareCon." And I had a fangirl moment, and I was like, "Well, this is not happening. Like, what?" I was shocked, and of course, like, I couldn't reply fast enough because there was no reception in the part of the airport where I was at.
Oh,
so,
no, that's the worst.
So like, I'm typing like frantically on my phone with my thumbs, like, screen's gonna break, and I'm trying to send it, and I probably sent it 19 times, and it was really bizarre. And so, long story short, we get to ScareCon, and I introduced myself to him. I've met him before, as me a couple of years back, and I introduced myself as, "Hey, this is me. You reached out, and it just kind of went from there. We started taking pictures together. He was across from me at ScareCon, and he would come over to the table, and people would take photos together, and we stayed in touch, and we've been traveling together for about the last year now, which is super surreal. Our first show together after that was Super Mega Fest in October, and he flew himself up. I went down to New Haven, picked him up in the the train station, and driving. We get a 2-hour drive, so we're just chatting, and super surreal because me, of all people, I'm sitting here. I've got Mark Patton in the front seat of my car, and we're going, and I'm trying to bite my tongue and not be a fangirl, and oh my God, you got to be professional, and I'm sitting here trying to not scream with excitement, and so it's great. You made a friend out of it, so it's but really surreal. I'm picking up Mark Patton, and we're gonna go take pictures together, and people want to come see us.
Yeah, that's so cool because I get I'll get excited if like someone like likes one of our tweets, like some celebrity likes a tweet, and I'm like, "Tim, look at this," and then here you're like picking them up, you're traveling together, you got like a whole thing. That's awesome.
That's very cool.
Weird, sharing pizza in a hotel room, like. It's and then so his agent is got an umbrella of a couple other people from the franchise. He's got Jack Shoulder and Kim Myers.
Yeah.
So they Kim was at New Jersey as well, and that was my first time meeting her actually, and she's one of the sweetest people that I have ever met. She was there with her husband, and so
yeah. Brian interrupted her lunch, I think.
Yeah, I accidentally prevented her from eating for a few minutes accidentally because I didn't realize she was trying to get up, and I went over and said, "Oh, hey, nice to meet you." And she's like, "Oh, if you want a picture, we'll be right back. We were going to grab something to eat, but we can do it now." I'm like, "Oh, no." I said, please go eat." We had a habit of awkward encounters that whole trip, and that was definitely one of them because I blocked the poor woman from eating after she's been at a table all day. But
she was so we were actually getting food before the show started, killing time because
oh my God, so we almost blocked
way
you
too early.
Too. This is terrible. We're blocking everybody for me.
No. So we were setting up. Like, my OCD is really bad when I go to these shows. Like, I need to make sure that my table is zhuzhed and all my prints and everything look nice and pretty. So I'm probably there like 2 hours before the show starts, which is really unnecessary. And so we have an hour now to like kill before we could, like, it's even early let-in. So we went and got food at this half of a restaurant that was at the Showboat. And, Kim and her husband walked in and I was like, oh my God, that's Kim. Like, I had never met her before. So like I was going to be meeting her for the first time in a couple hours when the show started. So I took everything in my power to, sit at the table and not run up and be like, hey, this is who I am. She had no idea that I was going to be there because, the agent never really said anything to her. So it was kind of a surprise. It's kind of funny. I walked up to her table, once it started. I'm like, hey, I'm Dave. I play Freddy. I, travel with Mark. And she's like, oh, okay. The agent failed to tell her, but, it all good. It was fun. We have lots of fun when we do these shows together. Hopefully get to work with her again in the future. I think she's going to be trying to come up for an appearance in October with Mark. I don't know if it's 100% happening, but I think there was some talk about it, which would be great. Her and her husband are really nice people.
Is that at the New Jersey HorrorCon again, like the October one?
No, so I won't be going to that one. October is really busy for me.
I can imagine.
I've actually I put vacation requests in at work, like January. I basically took the whole month of October off, for weekends at least. But Mark is actually doing a screening for his documentary in Salem. I think the 4th through 6th. Don't quote me exactly on the dates, but he'll be here in Mass the first weekend of October. So I'll be there with him, and I'm not sure if Kim's coming, but it would be great to work with both of them together again.
Cool. Yeah, I may be able to, like, for those kind of events, I could probably get down because I'm not that far. We're on Long Island, so I can usually get to like anything in Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Delaware, that Philadelphia, all those kind of areas around there I can get to pretty easy. Tim, it's a little harder though. It's
a little farther away.
It's a bit of a schlep from Carolina, but yeah. So I mean, that's why I always keep tabs because I definitely want to come and see what you got, what you have next on some of them. So that's why I'm glad you get your sites always updated and stuff, and you're always promoting. Well, of course, we'll promote anything you need all the time. So
yeah, which is awesome. You guys super appreciated. It's having somebody else do some promotions for me. It's kind of weird. Like even so, but you guys have promoted like the last 2 episodes, which is great, fantastic. Thank you so much. And it's weird to hear people talk about me.
They do. We love doing that because we kind of we totally geeked out at it because it was such a cool cool costume and everything, and we do that was awesome. And actually, so here, speaking of something, I noticed you had something really cool I never noticed on your site there. So I guess you have a cool way to finance your appearances a little bit with something called Ko-Fi, if I pronounce that right?
Yeah, Ko-Fi. I'm not 100% sure, but it seems like a fantastic platform for like individual artists and people who do stuff like this, I guess. But it's basically like a fundraising website. It worked for when I first started doing this because, having to pay for vendor tables gets really expensive. And
I bet.
So it adds up. But, when I first started, I had no idea what I was doing. So I kind of reached out, and it's just been on the site since. It was kind of like friends and family type thing. But it's a very, very good platform for people, who are independent artists or just any sort of services that, people who have fans or whatnot that want, to support them. And, it's a donation, which is based basically the cost of a coffee. So I think it's called coffee.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense now. I'm sitting there looking at the dash in it. I'm like, Ko-Fi. I thought it meant like co-finance. It was being kind of funny. I don't know.
It's almost as hard to pronounce as Worcester.
Yeah. And that was funny. When you mentioned the Worcester airport before, I'm like, oh my God, thank God Tim never had to get there because he'd never be able to get a cab to get home. He'd be stranded there because he wouldn't know how to say it.
But yeah, no, the Ko-Fi website or whatnot, basically like each donation. So if I have supporters out there, that want to help, they can make a donation, which is about the cost of a coffee, which I think you can buy a coffee for Freddy. I think it's like $3. So you can buy as many coffees as you want. You select however many coffees, and it equals up to $3 per. It's a really, really good platform. Same thing with Patreon. I'm on Patreon as well. It helped out at the start of everything, but now doing this as long as I have, my name's kind of getting around, and I'm getting guested at conventions where I don't really have to come up with those funds like I did when I first started. So I mean, for anybody that is an artist or anything like that, they're looking for support from, their followers or fans or whatnot. I mean, I guess they're really good platforms to use.
And you know what? Next convention we're at that you're there, we'll just personally buy you a cup of coffee at least.
There you go.
So that way we can.
Please do. Yes.
That'll be easier,
So Dave, do you have any? I'm sure you're busy on up to October. What upcoming appearances or projects do you have going on?
So this weekend, I'll be in Poughkeepsie for Hudson Valley Comic Con. It's a great show. It's a smaller show. I think they're in their 4th year. So last year, Hudson Valley Comic Con was actually my very first convention. It was first time paying for anything, and it kind of just took off from there. So, I wanted to come back, and, they were nice enough to guest me and, bring me on for this year. So I'll be there this weekend. Very, very good show. Lots of different individuals. It's not necessarily just a comic book show per se. It's kind of just a mishmash of everything, which is good. I don't really have anything going on during the summer as of yet. There's a couple things in the works that potentially might happen, and then it picks up again in September for Connecticut Horror Fest. I did that last year with Mark. Very, very small show. It's a one-day event, lots of people, and it's an amazing, everything horror related you're going to find there. I'll be at Rhode Island Comic Con November. I'll be in Salem with Mark first weekend of October. And that's all I really got in red ink right now. But I mean, that could always change. Things are always popping up.
Well, definitely, of course, definitely keep us posted, because we'll always definitely give you a shout out in our first chop segment there, wherever you're going to be appearing, because we definitely want to get everyone there to get to experience what we did, to take a really cool picture with as close to Robert Englund as you could get without being Robert Englund. So that's how we're promoting you now, I say.
Well, thank you. That's quite the compliment. I mean, I try, and people's reactions when they see me, and it's either they want nothing to do with me or they're, and it's a lot of the children too. I've noticed there's a big group of really bad parents out there, because I'll watch these kids, and I kind of do. It's kind of a strategy. I don't know if I should be talking about this, but I'll notice children walking by that are kind of scared, and they'll hide behind their parents, and I'll just point at them, and they'll cower, and then the parents will oh, you want a picture with Freddy? And then the kid starts to cry, and they push them over to the table, and they're forcing the children to take these pictures with me. And of course they want nothing to do with me, and the parents think it's hilarious. But yeah, so I mean, Robert doesn't do the makeup, and these people, they'll come up to me and they're in awe, and I like seeing that. I like having this, I like knowing that I'm giving these people something that they're not going to get anywhere else, really. There's like I said, there's other Freddy cosplayers out there, but I have my backdrop. It's kind of, I do my best to try to make it an experience for the con goers, really. So I'm trying. I like seeing the reactions, and knowing that bringing joy to the horror fans, it's a good feeling.
No, that's awesome. So I guess finally we got here's the fun part. We let you basically tell everyone where they can find you on all your websites, social media, whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm on Instagram. It's Nightmare_Worcester. It's WORCESTER. I'm Facebook, just Nightmare Worcester, and then my website's nightmareworcester.com. And all of the contact for any booking information is on the contact page on the website, and they can find me there. I try to post as much as I can, for updates, and keep up with it to let people know where I'm going to be. And if it's just a small event, I try to stick it up there and as far in advance as I can.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks, Dave, for coming on. That was a real treat. It was a great interview. And yeah, like Brian said, is anything you need us to promote, and just say the word, and we will shout it out on our first chop.
Yeah, awesome. No, thank you guys so much for having me. It's quite an honor. Thank you for all the promoting. It's fantastic.
Oh, no, our pleasure. And yeah, you have an open invitation. You're going to come back, and just in case you're like, what, I want to promote this, but I want to promote it. I'm tired of those two saying it. Just drop us an email, and we'll get you on again. So it was great to have you on.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, so much.
Yeah. So once again, thanks, Dave, for that great interview. You guys be sure to check out his Instagram page and his website. And now we're coming up on our main feature. So the movie of the week this week was one I had picked out because I figured we needed to do like a true classic in our run to the top 10. Not that all of these aren't classics, but I'm talking about classic in the sense of just time.
Right, like a world like agreed upon classic, basically.
And this is, of course, The Haunting from 1963, directed by the great Robert Wise, starring Julie Harris as Eleanor Lance, Claire Bloom as Theodora, Richard Johnson as Dr. John Markway, Russ Tamblyn as Luke Sanderson, and it's about a scientist doing research on the paranormal who invites two women to a haunted mansion. One of the participants soon starts losing her mind. Now, The Haunting was based off of the Shirley Jackson novel, The Haunting of Hill House. And, of course, you have seen this adapted into The Haunting of Hill House Netflix series. And that series is loosely adapted from the book. It has a lot of similar themes and stuff, but it's kind of got a very different format from the actual novel. This is much closer to the book, and please do not avoid watching this because of the god-awful 1999 remake of The Haunting, which was a travesty.
And how was that bad if you think of the cast in that one, and it was bad?
Right, because you had Liam Neeson, you had Catherine Zeta-Jones, you had Owen Wilson. Well, okay, maybe it was.
That's Lily Taylor, right?
Lily Taylor. I mean, yeah, it looked like... I remember actually liking that movie when it first came out, but it was way before I'd ever seen the original Haunting. Like, because I didn't watch the original Haunting forever. And so I just went to see The Haunting in 1999. I was like, oh, it's cool. It's a haunted house movie. But it's got really bad CGI. Like, looking back on it, I can't believe I ever liked that movie. I even had it on DVD when it came out.
I still think I have it on DVD.
So yeah, don't let that movie sway you. This is a true classic. It should have never been remade. It's we talked about The Changeling being a great classic horror haunted house movie. This one to me is the quintessential haunted house movie. It's all of its scares are literally through audio. And that's not an exaggeration. I think almost all of the scares are completely done through audio. And it's just got such a fantastic sense of foreboding and creepiness and tension. And does it all with a G rating.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked when I saw that. I'm like, well, especially with some of the other kind of underlying things going on in there. You figure there's enough there. Like when I think G, I think Disney, Pete's Dragon or something. So like this one, it's fine. It's funny to me that it shares the same rating system.
Yeah. So the premise is you have this parapsychologist guy Dr. John Markway, Dr. Markway, and he is investigating Hill House, and he kind of wants to. He's skeptical. And he's kind of wanting to bring people in that have had supernatural experiences or psychic phenomena to bring out whatever is in this house and try to capture evidence for hauntings or the afterlife or whatever. So he invites two women, one of whom had poltergeist activity as a child. Luke Sanderson is a psychic. I guess he scored well on some psychic tests at Duke University, which Duke University actually used to do true paranormal research.
Well, he's also owns, right? He's the future owner.
Yes, and he's the future heir of the house. So he's bringing all these people together that have had some sort of psychic ability or have had some kind of supernatural experience in their past to basically bring out whatever is in Hill House. And the haunting of Hill House starts very subtly. And it's kind of fun because I love these haunted house movies where investigators go in expecting not to find anything or are skeptical, and then stuff is revealed. It's kind of a classic trope, and a lot of it probably comes from this movie.
Yeah, I was going to say, I bet it's funny when you do these old movies, you forget, and you're like, wow, this is just like this, and you compare it to something that just, something newer when you're like, well, where do you think they got that from?
Yeah, there's a great scene early on when Dr. Markway is explaining about how Hill House is built on all these weird angles and stuff, and that explains why doors open and close, and he's demonstrating by opening this door, and he says, "See, it'll close," and it never closes.
Yeah, and then it does after.
Yeah, then he turns around and talks for a little bit, then he turns around, the door's closed. So it's
see, told you.
It gives you a kind of, it starts out with a little premise of you don't really know, is Hill House really haunted, or is this something, or is he right? Is this something we should be skeptical about?
Yeah, when you're also, there's a little bit, I don't know, I found at least you're skeptical of him too, what his intentions really are. So.
Right. And we find out that in the history of Hill House, the lady of the house went mad and hung herself, which you might remember from the series on the Netflix series too, had a similar plot line, but or similar history to the house. And she killed herself in the house. And so there's a fantastic housekeeper, and I'm trying to remember her exact quote, Brian, because I was actually going to say it on the podcast.
Yeah, and she keeps
saying
it like, "Don't scream in the night,
in the
something.
dark." Yeah, I'll have to find that quote.
In the dark. Like, dinner's at 6.
They don't come around here after night in the dark.
They won't hear you scream in the night in the dark. Yeah, it's such a like, and she repeats it like a few times.
Oh yeah, here he goes. She goes. Eleanor says, "Do you have any idea when Dr. Markway and Mrs. Dudley is her name?" She says, "No one could. No one lives any nearer than town. No one will come any nearer than that. In the night, in the dark."
Yes.
Oh, she's great. So so there's a history of Hill House that is well known to the community, and people don't go around here at night because it is known to be haunted.
Yeah, and she's like captures that whole like that you've seen that character a million times in horror movies, but she does it better than anybody.
Right. So again, that's another trope that you see time and time again that probably partially comes from this movie, among others. But this one she definitely does it so well.
The warning.
Yeah, the warning. So the two ladies in this movie are kind of interesting. We have Claire Bloom, who plays Theodora, and Julie Harris, who plays kind of the mousy Eleanor Lance. And she kind of reminded me a lot of Janet Leigh in Psycho. There's actually a scene. I
was just going to say that. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a scene where she's driving where it is ripped straight out of Psycho. I swear it is.
Oh, yeah. But this came first. Didn't this come first?
No, this was 1963. Psycho was 1960. Oh,
that's right. You're right.
So this was 3 years later.
That's right.
I swear it was ripped off.
That's right. Yeah, because especially the whole scene of where obviously Marion Crane steals the money, and here she's kind of borrows the car because it's kind of half hers, but she does it kind of in a sneaky way. So she's kind of on the run. They both like have a lot of parallels. Yeah, I thought that exact same thing. And even the music almost sound a little bit similar at one point. I think.
It seemed like a total ripoff. But she's kind of the insecure one. Theodora, who's played by Claire Bloom, is more the confident, dare I say seductive leading lady. And this is where you get another interesting subtext of this movie. There is some lesbian vibes going on here between Theodora and Eleanor. It's very subtle, but once you know about it and once you read about it, you can pick it up right away. I don't know.
Well, I caught it right away, but I think it seemed very one-sided at the beginning.
Yeah, it does. It's Eleanor. Theodora is definitely the aggressor in their relationship because Eleanor is very insecure. But
she's telling her how pretty she is. And,
I did not pick up on this at all the first time I watched it. And I ended up, I think, somehow reading about it. And then when I went back and watched it again, I was like, oh, duh. Like, did I not see this the first time around?
Well, see, I don't remember the first, because I had seen it a long time ago, so I don't remember if I picked it up the first time. And I hadn't seen it in a while from this point. I definitely picked it up right away this time. But, then again, we watch so many things and we're always looking for stuff now. Yeah. So, I'm probably just, my mind was more attuned to anything that's, but kind of out there, in there, out there for you to pick up on. So
there's a fantastic scene. So there's haunting events that happen that are split between the two groups. So the ladies experience stuff and the men don't. And that sets up this kind of like, well, did you really see what you thought you saw? Or did you really hear what you thought you saw? And it's kind of some conflict between the two groups. But there's a fantastic scene. It's very creepy when the two girls are in the room and they hear this pounding. It literally sounds like a pounding on the wall. Like, not just like a pounding on the wall from like somebody knocking on the door. I'm talking about like she described, a cannonball knocking on the door. And
what's that big thing, with the big
like a battering ram almost.
Yeah, like in like the Ewoks had Return of the Jedi, the two logs going.
Yeah, that's what it sounds
that's what
like.
That reminded
it's
me
just constant thud.
The trebuchet, what is that? Like one of those.
But it's very creepy, and it's so interesting. I've never seen that before in a haunted house movie. Just this constant pounding thud, and it's weird that it seems so scary because when you talk about it, it sounds dumb, right? But in the context of the movie, it actually is genuinely frightening. When I first saw this movie, like, it really kind of unsettled me, even for a movie this old. That constant thudding, pounding coming down the hallway towards her door.
Well, it's unnerving if you know what it is, let alone when you don't.
You're right, exactly. So that's like the very first true sense that we have that this place genuinely is haunted. And it's just a fantastic use of sound and audio. And we get it again later. Again, like I said, the audio in this movie is fantastic. You get it later when they're in the room and they hear the crying and sobbing of a woman. And this is so super creepy again because the movie just focuses on the wall. All you see is the wall and you hear this sobbing and these like background voices. It's just super, super creepy. And I really love it because it demonstrates how wrong the 1999 remake went, because the remake showed everything. It showed the ghost. Right. It showed the CGI window frosting over. I mean, everything was shown in excruciating detail with CGI. And this movie does everything through audio. You don't have to show anything, and it's so much scarier than the 99
Yeah,
version.
I mean, that's actually a great study. If everyone wants to show you like the minimalist approach for a scare versus a very like visual approach to the scare, those are the two movies you do, the original and the remake, to show the difference. And like I dare someone to say, oh, I was scared more from the remake.
Yeah. It really demonstrates how important sound is to horror. Without the sound, I mean, those are the two main haunting events in the movie, and both of them are genuinely frightening on their own. But without that sound, this movie would have been forgotten. So Eleanor slowly starts to lose her mind, because if you've watched the Haunting of Hill House series on Netflix, you kind of get this psychological horror that goes on. Not just the supernatural elements of Hill House, but also its psychological effects on the inhabitants inside of Hill House. And Eleanor is the recipient of Hill House's wrath, if you will. So she slowly starts to unravel, and that's where we come through the second half of the movie, with Eleanor slowly unraveling. And I don't want to give it all away, because this is a classic. You really, really need to watch this one.
Yeah, I mean, and I will say, it's like she starts to she gets this like almost like unnerving and unhealthy attachment to the house. Where most people would kind of be pushing away, she feels it gets worse for her. She feels like she draws closer to it. Yeah. Which is kind of cool. So
anyway, yeah, kind of a masterpiece. Black and white, 1963. Super frightening. I'll watch this one with the lights off and the sound cranked up really good, and you will be impressed.
And actually, I was gonna say, even though we were saying how the audio and audio, there is one cool visual that they do, and it's such a basic, easy effect to do. But since it was done with a practical effect, the door where the door was bending and pushing like that. Like, that's such a simple effect, and yet in that movie, because that's really one of the few visual scares you see, other than a door slamming. I mean, that and then that one too that one's cool. But then also another subtle one I love is when Luke is standing there. They're all standing in the cold spot, and he's convinced it's a draft because he could see his breath. Mm-hmm. But obviously, he's saying, no, it's sealed shut. There's no, and it's just in that one spot. And that's just kind of cool how when he takes a step in and he goes, no, it's a draft, because look, and I can see it. And you see the breath go, but that's not what that is. So that I really like that. That was I thought that was pretty cool. See, it's like even the visuals they do show are very, very subtle.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that the reason these very subtle effects work, and that the audio scares work so well, is that they do such a great job of setting up the story of Hill House before you even get to that point. Like, you already set this expectation, like, through the housekeeper. Nobody comes here after dark in the night. And so you have this whole like anticipation build up of, well, something's got to happen because this place is well known for being haunted, and he's brought these people here and they're skeptics, but they're psychic, and something's got to happen. And you're totally on the edge of your seat the entire time waiting for the other shoe to drop with this movie. And I think that's why those little subtle effects actually work so well. They just keep building. And like I said, look at haunted house movies that have come out since then. They all follow a similar format. They start with these, I mean, even go up to Paranormal Activity. You start with these little tiny effects, and you build and you build and you build. I mean, it's over and over and over. You see it in all these haunted house films. And I swear a large part of it has to be owed to this movie.
Well, that's almost like a general found footage kind of thing too now, with the slow build up to, obviously to these reveals at the end. But, and so but actually, obviously it's funny because like they kind of like the found footage kind of adapted that quality but kind of disguising it a little bit, I guess, in the found footage. But I mean, if you look at the heart of any found footage, it's the same thing. Like Tim said, little bits, you see a little bit here, a little bit there, and then like and then just all hell breaks loose by the last couple of scenes.
Granted, now I'm not saying that's a common theme running throughout all movies. I mean, that's kind of screenwriting 101, obviously, that you have to build to a climax. That's more of a kind of story level, but in particular, I think that's why I say The Haunting is one of the quintessential haunted house movies, because it encapsulates everything you've seen in every other haunted house movie since then, because it just does everything perfectly, and it does that whole slow build up so perfectly. I don't know if it originated it, but it definitely perfected it.
Right, and it definitely made it memorable if it was there before, and you may not have caught it, but you definitely see it in this one. So
let's go through some of the trivia here, because this is kind of an interesting film. It has a lot of history to draw on. So Claire Bloom was intrigued to play the role of a woman who was attracted to another woman. So Theodora, obviously, we said, is kind of the aggressors, and she's attracted to Eleanor. But she got along with everyone except for Julie Harris, who played Eleanor, of course, who tried everything to avoid her and not talk to her. At the end of the shoot, Harris went over to Bloom's house with a present and explained that the reason she had kept herself was to stay in character, because her role in the film was that of an outsider that none of the others understand or will listen to. So she's a total method actor.
Oh, yeah.
Bloom was happy to hear the real reason behind Harris's behavior, since Bloom stated that she really liked Harris and could not understand what she had done wrong to be treated like that by her co-star. You hear these kind of stories often on the sets where one of the co-stars like avoids everybody else or whatever to stay in character. So that's kind of...
Well, and they do that like in the slashers. Like a lot of times the villain will not associate with his victims because they want them to be truly scared when they encounter him.
And I'm kind of skipping through some of these that are more interesting. Russ Tamblyn was not interested in playing the role of Luke Sanderson until MGM threatened him to re-sign his contract. So years later, he confirmed that it was his best role by far, so he was happy that he took it.
Yeah, and of course, you're a Twin Peaks fan. No, Russ Tamblyn as Dr. Jacoby.
Yeah.
So
the exterior of Hill House was not a set, but an actual house, which is actually the Eddington Park Hall Hotel in Stratford-upon-Avon. The interiors, of course, are sound stages, which you can kind of tell. And
yeah, you can see that.
While shooting exterior night scenes on location at the real house, Russ Tamblyn shared a story where he chose to take a stroll through a cemetery at the rear of the property and had an experience nearly as terrifying as the film itself. And this is actually on the commentary track included on the DVD. So they didn't tell you in the trivia what that was, but now I'm very curious as to what that was.
I know. Now I got to go buy this.
So for some of the scenes in which the characters are tormented by ghostly sounds like the crying lady and stuff, Robert Wise had the sounds on playback so that the actors could react to them authentically. So that's kind of cool. He actually had the sounds piped in, so they did have something to react to. There's a scene early in the film in which Theodora is shown in her apartment in the city, and she's broken off with her female lover. So this is kind of a very overt sign that she is a lesbian, and she's yelling curses out the window, and they decided to cut the scene because it seemed too explicit for a film that worked hard to make things implicit. So
yeah, I was gonna say, I think they purposely make it vague enough, but that this would have kind of blown that strategy out of the water.
And I kind of like that because I like that they kept everything subtle and they left it up to the
Right.
viewer. I don't like when they beat you over the head with stuff.
Yeah.
The censors actually had something to say about this kind of lesbian subtext because they demanded that Theodora never be shown to touch Eleanor in order to keep the lesbianism less obvious. Nonetheless, they still touch several times if you look closely in the movie when they're sitting on the bed. So
Yeah, they're like cuddled up when she's trying to comfort
Right.
her. So, but that's normal. I mean, that could be that's just what someone's trying to comfort someone.
yeah.
So it's basically, I think they just wanted to make, they probably wanted to, it's so funny back then, because now it wouldn't even matter. No one would even think twice about anything like that. It's just back then, though, I guess it was, they just tried to, like, hide those things in movies, especially in a G movie, I guess. They didn't want, but for a G movie, there was a lot of drinking in it, too. I mean, they were always constantly getting drunk, which is shocking, so I don't know.
Robert Wise was on a contract with MGM and owed them one more film, so this was the film that he gave them, and they only offered him $1 million, which he said he needed a bigger budget. So he ended up going over to England, where MGM London was willing to give him $1.1 million. So that's why the movie was made in
That
England.
$0.1 million.
Yeah. We talked about Russ Tamblyn earlier. He has an uncredited cameo as Nell's psychiatrist in the Netflix adaptation. So that's kind of cool.
Oh, he plays another psychiatrist role.
And the screenplay, like we mentioned earlier, the screenplay made many changes to the original story. So the number of characters in the novel, there's a lot more characters. The backstory was significantly shortened for the film. A lot of the supernatural events depicted in the novel were kept off screen, again showing the subtlety of this movie compared to the book. And most of the action took place inside the house versus the novel, where you have stuff happening in and outside of the house.
See, I'm glad they made that choice, because I think that was one of the reasons you got especially for a giant house, though, you got very claustrophobic.
Yeah, and there's some character changes as well. Theodora was given a sharper, slightly more cruel sense of humor. It says here in the trivia. And Luke was made more flippant. Dr. Markway was made more confident. So they made some character changes. But I would really highly recommend you read the novel. It's really, really cool. Definitely a classic of horror literature. This is interesting. Most of the film was shot through lenses that added a curvature to the walls. So again, when Dr. Markway talks about, Hill House is built on these different angles, what you're kind of consciously picking up in the film is probably curved walls through these lenses that they filmed it with, which is kind of neat. And the bending door scene that Brian was talking about earlier was a prop door composed of rubber, and it was just stagehands pushing on the door. So like you said, Brian, a very simple effect.
But it was so good. It was really well done, for that. And, I'm sure at that time people are like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. Now it would be done digitally, and it just looked like
1999.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's The Haunting, a true classic of the genre, one of my favorite haunted house movies, if not my favorite haunted house movie. And I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head that I enjoy better, but that one's
maybe the
Changeling would be up there, but this one's way, way, way on up there. So definitely check that one out if you have not, and definitely check out The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix. I really enjoyed that series as well. So.
Yeah, I want to rewatch that now that I've seen this. I want to rewatch that again.
So, Brian, what beer pairing do you have for us this week?
So this one was pretty much a no-brainer. It's Haunted House by the Allagash Brewing Company. They make some good stuff, Allagash, if you haven't had it. So basically, here's the description, and they did a little funny here. They made it 6.66%.
Nice.
So I see what they did there. And here's the description. It says, doomed by a love of pitch black porters and our Allagash house beer, we summon the recipe for a haunted house. Roasted barley and Black Prince malt curse this beer with a gravely dark hue. Hopped with Tetnang, Chinook, and Saaz hops, this beer ends with a ghost of coffee-flavored bitterness and hauntingly complex malty palate. So that sounds right up our alley.
It really does, yeah. So our triple threat last week, we asked you for an actor or actress. And I think I'm going to do these a little differently, Brian. I'm just going to go ahead and give you the answer and then explain the clues from the answer. So
yeah, maybe that's a good one. Because we got this.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone got this.
Yeah, we got a correct answer from Mike Silk from the Champs Word podcast, which you guys need to check out. I'm going to check it out soon.
Yes, definitely give that a listen.
Clue number one, the actor actress we were looking for was Tiffany Shepis. Tiffany Shepis. I guess the double IPA is
Yes.
starting to kick in.
Yeah, I guess you're in. It's the LaCroix.
Probably the
That's what
LaCroix,
it is.
yeah. Tiffany Shepis, of course, is what we were looking for. Clue number 1, I've battled Bigfoot, flying sharks, and even psychotic, vengeful children. So some of her films we were talking about there was Abominable for Bigfoot, Sharknado 2, and Tales of Halloween, where she was in the psycho, vengeful children segment.
Well, it was Trick.
Oh,
Was the name of the segment. Sorry. Yeah, I wrote that kind of weird.
Trick
Sorry.
Clue number 2, I started working when I was 16 and went on to star in over 100 independent films. Well, no explanation needed there. That is a fact.
That's pretty much for what it is.
And she said her first film was a horror comedy adaptation of one of Shakespeare's classic. This was, she played Peter in Tromeo and Juliet. So the first Tromeo Shakespeare adaptation there.
Yeah, and good job, Mike Silk. He got that right away. Like, he was like, as soon as he heard the podcast, I think later that day he might have sent it to us.
Yeah, good job. Yeah.
So that I thought that was more of a challenge one, but he's at the cons a lot, so he probably is like in tune with what we're throwing out there.
He's picking up what
but
we're
still,
laying down.
Good guess. Yeah, but good guess on that one. I by this point, by the time you hear it, I've already retweeted it again, to see if anyone else can get it. So hopefully some other people will get it by the time you listen to this, and because we're about to announce our new one.
And this one's a toughie. This is a tough one. I'll have to say, Brian.
Well, I think I went really tough with the clues.
Yeah.
I think the answer could be is someone that everyone should know. But
all right, so we're looking for an actor or actress. Clue number 1, I used to really get a kick out of one of my most notable non-horror roles. Clue number 2, during my career, I played a bunny, a dragon, and one of the Three Stooges. Clue number 3, one of my early career accomplishments was becoming comedy champion, edging out Sinbad and Rosie O'Donnell on a classic TV talent competition show. Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I mean, there are clues, though, that I think people could get if they do a little research on it. But I definitely think I tried to be a little bit more challenging on the specific clues this time.
Interesting. So, yeah, that's a really good one. We will post these clues promptly. Let's post these right away because you guys will need some time for this one.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll make sure on Friday, as the episode's released, by midday, I will have that up there.
Yeah.
So you can, as you're listening, you can look on Twitter and you'll see it.
All right, guys. So definitely make sure you get those iTunes reviews in and leave us a 5-star review or whatever you think we deserve and a written review, and you will be entered into a competition to win a Civil Gore prize pack. We got some really, really cool horror swag in there. I'm going to start posting some pictures on Instagram, so look out for that shortly. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and drop us a line at civilgorepodcast@gmail.com, and we will be back here next week with episode 99, one of my favorite horror movies of all time, easily in my top 5, and on our way to 100.
It will be exciting.
Yes. So, in the meantime, don't go out there in the night, in the dark.
I was going to say that too, and I have no idea what to say. So I'll just concur.
Shake it up, shake it down, move it in, move it round, disco baby. Move it in, move it out, move it in and about, disco baby.